Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
And I can only assume Minnesota's not the exception. Did you know the CIA is implanted in your state government?
No.
Well, I'll explain. First of all, the CIA mission statement says they're not to be operational within the U.S.
This is Jesse Ventura.
So they're violating their mission statement. Well, in Minnesota, only the governor and the chief of staff are aware of it. That there's an implanted CIA person in Minnesota government at a level to where he doesn't come and go with elections. It's a permanent position. Why? Why do they violate their own mission statement? And I can only assume Arizona. I don't know if you have one, but I don't believe Minnesota is the exception.
Did you know who it was in Minnesota?
Yes.
And what was the position in Minnesota?
The position was at a deputy level in one of the... You know, I won't go far enough to say, I won't say names because I'm not going to get Valerie Plain.
Was it an agency type position?
Well, it's an upper level management position.
Okay.
That's permanent. In fact, when this person retired, I was then introduced to the new one. They then recruited a new one and had that person implanted in Minnesota government. If you're also not aware, 1 month after I took office, I was requested to the basement of the Capitol where I was interrogated by 23 members of the Central Intelligence Agency, and I was the governor. I went, because being the former military, you kind of feel obligated. You don't know what it's really about.
Yeah, you guys want to go listen to that one, don't you? Yeah, you do. He was here doing a 9/11 thing because Karen Johnson spoke from the Senate floor as a senator and just exposed a bunch of, Building 7 stuff, had packets on it, said, look, all you people, bunch of neocon, blah, 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 you need to know this information. What you're being told is a lie, yada, yada, yada. Well, Jesse Ventura was impressed with her enough that he decided, I'm going to come to Arizona. We'll do a speaking event and so on. Well, we videotaped it, and we went down, and we had signs and all that, and Charles Goyette was one of the speakers at the event. So we made a big deal out of it and promoted it and so on. Well, this was in a Senate caucus room at the Senate building at the Arizona State Capitol where he gave this presentation to some legislators and press and people there. We videotaped it. I know of no one else that put this up. We put this up, and it keeps getting taken down, different places, whatever. We just keep putting it back up. So the thing is that he's going, look, man, they pulled me down. I mean, he was SEAL. He was a Navy SEAL, so the CIA, the boys want to talk to you. You go, okay, so we'll go talk to them. Well, this was of great interest. And to look at your situation in the Pentagon, we have to assume from this and the stories that you have, and it will continue, that we are saturated with people that influence at the highest levels, where the rubber meets the road in the legislature, where, policy from big bad guys are put into law, where they have overseeing the governor, and when you get intelligence that's being portrayed in a way that would justify even going to war. We as a people are not in charge of this government, and no one knows that more than Karen Kwiatkowski, okay? Now, with this information, go ahead and explain to us some of the information. You just started getting into it, that, they didn't want, we need to have a paper that defines Libya and this and that the way that we want. Okay, now go ahead and finish that story.
It's interesting now because Libya is in the news, people are paying attention, and certainly we are intervening, unconstitutionally right now under a different president, but it's really the same president. Okay, it's really the same guys, It's the same guys you're talking about that called Jesse Ventura to the basement, okay? We're dealing with that same crowd of controllers, basically. But back in, prior to the Iraq invasion, Libya was portrayed as one of a number of countries that needed regime change, one of a number of countries that had nuclear capability, which, of course, Libya never had, never even came close to it. And a WMD threat, a terrorism threat, a harborer of terrorism, and that kind of thing. This did not jive with the intelligence that we had been gathering on Libya for some time, and we were working hard to gather information on Libya. So we knew quite a bit about Gaddafi. It had been one of the focuses of intelligence gathering throughout the 90s, and we had information. And what it showed was, the guy's a nutcase and he's pretty brutal, but capability-wise, he doesn't have any. And alliance-wise, with the people that hate Americans, he doesn't really have any. But prior to the invasion of Iraq, prior to 2004, the storyline that needed, quote-unquote, needed to be put out on Libya was that it was really, really awful. And it didn't matter if it was truth-based, lie-based, or whatever. In 2004, when we had our reversal, suddenly, the lobbyists of the American oil companies there and et cetera, Europeans, of course, wanted to have the sanctions lifted, et cetera. The incentive, the change was now, Libya's one of the good guys. So we lift sanctions, and we put out a whole new round of points about Libya. I wasn't in the Pentagon then, but the truth about Libya was then okay to come out. The truth that they were no threat to their neighbors or themselves, just a rottenly led dictatorial government, socialist, economy. Other than that, Libya was not a threat. Suddenly, the truth in 2004 was allowed to be revealed, and so then I'm sure if you were a desk officer and you had intelligence, you could actually, at that point, go to the intelligence and say, well, here's what we know. You couldn't do that in 2002, but you could do it in 2004, up until, I guess, 2011. So, now it changes. Now the agenda is different, and now you have to say different things. So,
wow.
I think a lot of people may be surprised that this is how the professionals in the intelligence industry, the professionals in the Pentagon, people think they actually, do honest day's work like everybody else, but they don't.
No. I tell you what, it doesn't matter what you call professional, what agents, we are controlled by the military-industrial New World Order empire we rule you of, whatever the heck it is. And it doesn't matter what you call it. These are just the tentacles, the evidence of their presence. But behind that, having been so close to this, you'll say, like a blanket word like the neocons.
Yeah.
What's behind it? I mean, how high does this go? I mean, how Alex Jonesy do we got to get?
Yeah, well, he gets it right quite often. I hate to say, Alex does, because it's really frightening. If he's right about everything, we're in big trouble. But and I usually myself, I'm not a person that uses the term New World Order very much or anything like that. I mean, it is a term used by guys like Herbert Walker Bush and the UN and all this stuff. I mean, it's a legitimate phrase, but I don't use it because it kind of connotates a this really aggressive, centrally led threat. But in fact, the neocons are part and parcel. The neoconservative ideology is a global view of how things ought to be run. Of course, they'll be in charge. Nobody envisions things being run by somebody other than themselves. And so it's a global interventionist view, looking at what makes the world go round, okay, and that's energy and money. So energy and money, how do we get more of it? How do we control more of it? And the neocons don't really understand the U.S. Constitution. They certainly don't get the founders. These guys, their ideology comes from other global socialistic-type movements like communism, like Karl Marx, like, Lenin. In fact, most of them trace their ideology back directly to early 20th century Trotsky. So this is what informs them, not the founding fathers. And so all these heartland people, all you Arizonans and libertarians and red state people who maybe you think the Constitution's important, the neoconservatives see that much like George Bush used to say, just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't mean anything to them. What means something to them is a larger, grander, more grandiose idea of how the world should be ordered. And then you could say, well, that must be the New World Order. Well, it'll be a New World Disorder, but the idea of running things, controlling things, being in a position to manipulate things. And I think this is what's behind the neoconservative attraction. And both major political parties like it. The Republicans like neoconservative intervention. The Democrats like it. Okay, so this is a big problem. I hear the music.
It's the marching left boot. then the right boot, then the left boot, then the right boot of the jackboot on your throat party. I get it. You know, it's the same. When we come back, there are a lot of things that all of us have been doing, working hard to bring this out. No more than the efforts of Karen. Now, she has some other plans, too. What might they be? Oh, you get to hear about first here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, our special guest, Karen Kwiatkowski. We'll be right back. Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. Readers of freedomsphoenix.com are constantly provided the information that detail the real news between the lines of propaganda about government policies and the true relationship we all have with coercive governments. Learn the true condition of our economy, innovations and technological breakthroughs in energy, health, computer science, and space travel. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media, the media that is so last century. Corporate media has evolved into nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but we now have a fantastic alternative. FreedomsPhoenix.com provides constant news updates on the issues that affect our lives in the most important ways. Our liberty and our property are under constant attack, and FreedomsPhoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda while encouraging the participation of our readers. Join us at FreedomsPhoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. FreedomsPhoenix.com, where the revolution between the ears has already matured.